Hi, my name is Kim Seach. This week our discussion is on sexual harassment. The first article I want to talk about is the one that was spending more time with our families. The author suggests that the workplace needs reforming, like adjusting our work hours to coincide with school times, appreciating people who are willing to parent the next generation. Those are our doctors and lawyers. Men and women should be able to climb the ladder of success and have lots of time, be able to spend lots of time raising their family. That makes the world a better place. My only real comment on that article is that I agree. I wonder if any of you took the stance of who cares if the women work or not, let them stay home and care for the family, and I just wonder what your perceptions are. In my own experience, I've been lucky enough to have jobs where my employer was more willing to give flexible time or flexible hours when needed, and so I think that there is a shift happening. I just think that probably, like the author suggests, there needs to be more tolerance. On the paper on evolutionary psychology of sexual harassment, women are participating now more than ever in the labor force, and we're working side by side with men, and this is creating conflicts between the sexes. And one of the shocking statements in the paper, it actually was a quote in this paper, it was from some other study, is that some see sexual harassment as a tool of patriarchy, while others view it mostly as a harmless form of interaction. And my jaw dropped when I read that. A tool of patriarchy, meaning that's how men keep their place at the top of the corporate ladder. I don't think this paper is talking about a harmless type of behavior. I think an off-color joke on occasion can be overlooked, but an oppressive office climate where that type of conduct is routine or it's common, where it's expected and forced, or it's used to manipulate or coerce someone else, that's an unacceptable behavior. Should sexual harassment be viewed from the perspective of the reasonable person or the reasonable woman? I say that it should be viewed from the lens of the victim. The victim is the one who was threatened and is in the best position to know what the harasser's motives were. Is sexual harassment about power rather than about sex? It's wrong to say that a bank robber is that a bank robbery is only about the guns and not about the money. Same problem with sexual harassment is that men use their power to coerce sex. So it's because of sex that men will abuse their power. And we've been discussing lately race discrimination and name discrimination, and we've come by these traits honestly. These prejudices have passed from generation to generation, and we're in the era now that we're trying to break free of those oppressive practices, and we're experiencing difficulty in doing that. We're weeding out some historically erroneous thinking, which is why the paper is speaking to the evolution of sexual harassment. And we need to weed out the practice of male dominance. And I'm not talking about equality in the workplace. I'm not talking about salary or status. I'm talking about the way men have dominated women throughout history. It hasn't been that long that women weren't able to vote, that they weren't able to wear pants in public or swimsuits. And that's American women. That hasn't been too far in it's very close in the recent past. Some women still are not allowed to drive cars. Some are not allowed to show their faces. Some husbands are still allowed to beat their wives. It's completely illegal. So these are all archaic practices that we now consider wrong. And I think it's also wrong that there is still the perception that boys will be boys. And I think that kind of thinking needs to stop. That stereotype is part of the problem. And it is not right that the males will or do objectify women. They pursue them even when the answer is no. They're inappropriate or attempt to dominate them because that's what their testosterone tells them to do. I have some pretty strong opinions on this subject, and none of you need to respond to this specifically in your comments, but something to think about is, have you ever been placed, personally, you have been placed in a physically or emotionally threatening position? Have you ever been harassed in the workplace? Have you ever been groped, pushed around, or forced into a sexual act? Have you ever been violated, stalked, your house broken into? I think that some of those things are not as real to some as they are to others. For a woman who has had some of those things happen, the threat or the fear of those things happening are very real, and they're not harmless. And it's my opinion that the workplace is for work. And if men want to shop for someone to have a relationship or a thing or a fling with, I think that should be done off the clock. And I think that men need to remember that no means no. And that's what I'm teaching my kids to believe. And I'd love to hear your differing views on this touchy subject.